But now straight to Bangkok, where Burma's pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been greeted by huge crowds on her visit to the city. On her first trip outside Burma in a quarter of a century, Ms Suu Kyi was met by millions of Burmese, or met some of the millions of Burmese exiles in Thailand to hear of their struggles firsthand. Southeast Asia correspondent Zoe Daniels has been travelling with the Burmese leader. Zoe, what do the details of Aung San Suu Kyi's itinerary tell us about her priorities in Thailand?
Well, I think it's quite interesting what she's done. I mean, the fact that she went this morning immediately on her first stop out of Burma in 24 years to visit migrant communities is a fairly clear statement about what her priorities are. And, you know, I think it's fair to say that she's been slightly criticised for not paying enough attention to those communities, and I think by visiting them on her first stop she was trying to make a statement that she does care about them and that she will be taking up their cause. But I think it's also fair to say that given that she's speaking at the World Economic Forum, she's seeing the bigger picture as well, and she realises that she has a lot of international clout at the moment and that she's prepared to use it.
There are something like, I think, 2 million Burmese exiles in Thailand. How are they treated? Fairly badly, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. The estimates are between 2 and 3 million Burmese living in Thailand. Some of them are living in refugee camps on the Thai-Burma border, but the vast majority of them are economic migrants who've left Burma to get jobs in Thailand to provide for their families, simply because the wages in Burma are so meagre that they are unable to do that. But what that creates is a situation where they're extremely vulnerable and largely powerless in Thailand. Many of them are irregular immigrants, therefore have no paperwork, and particularly until recently when Thailand introduced a national verification system which is still being put in place. But even with that, they're subject to extortion by government figures, by the police, by employers, and they're highly at risk of things like human trafficking and bonded labour. So they are an extremely vulnerable group.
And is there anything Aung San Suu Kyi can realistically do for them? Are they under pressure, for example, to return home to Burma?
Look, I think that's a factor. There have been noises made by the Thai government for a couple of years that they would like, at the very least, to close down those refugee camps on the Thai-Burma border. And refugees are, I guess, a slightly separate issue to economic migrants. But I guess it goes to the same thing, and that is whether it's safe for people to return to Burma and whether the economic situation has yet improved for them. And certainly on the latter, I don't think that it necessarily has, particularly in the rural and more isolated areas. Aung San Suu Kyi, I guess, can bring them profile, can bring some profile to their issues. She's promised to raise those issues at the International Labour Organisation conference that she'll be attending when she's in Europe next month. But also she says that in the Parliament she'll try to bring the issue forward to allow people to go easily in and out of Burma. I mean, there are many people here in Thailand who've been unable to visit their home country for a decade or more simply because they can't get official permission to go in and out, and that's something that she says that she will try to address.
A more general question, is there a political message in Aung San Suu Kyi's decision to make Burma her first overseas visit after having been confined to Burma for so many years, or is it simply a matter of convenience?
Look, I think it's interesting. I mean, this visit was sort of sprung on everyone. She announced a while ago that she planned to visit the UK and Europe in June. And then all of a sudden news came out that she planned to come to Bangkok for the World Economic Forum. Whether she's testing the government back in Burma by doing a trip slightly closer to home to make sure that she can get back into Burma this weekend before she heads off further afield to Europe is a question that could be asked. But also she has had previous contact with the World Economic Forum, and it could be a simple case that Davos invited her to attend the forum and she elected to do so. So it's difficult to know how much to read into it. But, you know, in simple terms, it's her first trip out of the country and she will travel back into the country in the next few days, and I guess that will be a test in itself.
What appointments, if any, does she have with representatives of Thailand's government? After all, I'd have thought a peaceful and prosperous Burma would be pretty important for Thailand as the next door neighbour.
Yes, she's meeting the Deputy Prime Minister, and that is quite significant in that he's the one who's responsible for national security. So I guess we can assume that the sorts of issues that they might be discussing around political stability in Burma, and also the issues around refugees pushing across the border even more than they already have, both economic migrants and refugees who are fleeing persecution if the situation should go bad in Burma again. I would say that I think the Thai government's had to walk a fairly tricky line this week, because the invitation, as we understand it, for her to visit was not issued by the government but by the World Economic Forum, and as you know, President Thein Sein was due to come as well. So the Thai government, I think, has been standing back a little bit, doesn't have a lot of official engagements with her, is letting her run her own itinerary to a degree in conjunction with the forum rather than getting heavily involved, although of course she will see Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra at the forum itself.
As you mentioned, President Thein Sein did put off a planned visit because it was going to clash with Aung San Suu Kyi's appearance at the World Economic Forum and elsewhere in Thailand. I believe that's still going ahead next week now, but are the Burmese authorities still surprised at the level of interest that Aung San Suu Kyi attracts, not just at home but abroad?
I wouldn't say they were surprised. I mean, the President's Chief Advisor said to me, and I think on this program, that they're aware of her star power and they're keen to use that. At the same time, though, I don't think Thein Sein would have wanted to be overshadowed by her, and there's no doubt that her presence here in Thailand, being her first visit out of Burma in such a long period, has turned into something of a media circus, and she's getting a lot of attention. He may want to bring attention to his own issues by coming a few days later, early next week, as you suggest, rather than clashing with her visit directly.